Hello and welcome to Reimagining Businesses with SBL. My name is Chinonyerim Ichibogu and I'll be your host for today. With me, I have
Folusho Olusanya.
welcome Felicia. So Felicia is an associate from Babalakin and Co. And together we'll be discussing the future of business law in an intelligence age. So Felicia will be taking us through the promises, the pitfalls, and the progress of artificial intelligence. So that brings me to different developments in the artificial intelligence world. We've had scenarios where students, businesses do research with ChatGPT. We've had scenarios where there are artificial presentations by View 3. So, do you think there are some problems that law firms or businesses can get into by using these developments in artificial intelligence? And who exactly will be responsible for these problems where they might arise?
Thank you very much, Chinayer, for that question. And you're spot on with your analysis of AI and how researchers, students, and the likes have been using it. But you see, there are some common pitfalls that come across when people are using AI. That is, users, law firm, businesses, doesn't matter. One thing that is very common among everyone is accuracy,
Okay.
ensuring the accuracy of the outputs generated by artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence is a fantastic tool, but it's not perfect. And that's what people need to understand. It's not there yet, and it may probably never be 100% accurate. And that's why it's important for users, business owners to have human oversight over the output generated by AI. So, an example is in the United States, a court of law had to fine lawyers and their law firm $5,000 for using artificial intelligence to create submissions on behalf of their clients that were fake, totally non existent, and bogus. It happens also in Australia, where a court has had to refer a legal practitioner to the regulatory body for making submissions that entirely did not exist on behalf of their client. So there has to be a bit of human oversight, double checking, fact checking, and ensuring that the output you intend to rely on, which was generated by AI, is entirely accurate. Another issue or pitfall that business owners and law firms need to understand and be aware of is transparency.
Okay.
Transparency is so important. Customers, consumers, clients, they want to be aware. They want you to inform them of what exactly you are using to present your product or services to them. Now, with artificial intelligence, it's important to let your clients or consumers or customers know that you are using artificial intelligence to do this. For example, again, in the United States, we've had instances where the New York State Supreme Court Appellate Department's First Division has had to stop hearings because a plaintiff relying on an artificial intelligence avatar making submissions for him without informing the judges. Of course, they'll be very angry because they felt deceived. There was no prior warning, and it's very difficult for you to also like verify: is this a human being? Is this artificial intelligence? So it'd be nice to have a heads up that okay, this is being generated with artificial intelligence, or this is being created with artificial intelligence. It just makes everybody at ease, knowing fully well that this is how this emanates. So these are some of the very common pitfalls that businesses and law firms need to look out for when using artificial intelligence.
Oh, thank you so much, Felicia. So that's this question actually brings me to the next question, which would be: are there basic laws that law firms and businesses should have in mind when using artificial intelligence?
Yes, definitely. Although in Nigeria does not have a comprehensive legal framework
Okay,
for the use of artificial intelligence. In Europe, we have the EU AI Act 2024.
that's
In
quite recent.
Yes, very recent. Japan's is even more recent. We have Japan 2025, South Korea, Brazil. These countries are putting in laws to regulate AI. But in Nigeria, we've not gotten there yet.
We will get there.
Hopefully, yeah, definitely, we should, we should. However, there are basic rules that, of course, that lawyers, law firms, and business owners have to put into consideration when using AI. One of the most important is data security and data protection, data
Okay.
privacy. Um, so, for law firms specifically, an example is if you're involved in an international arbitration. Now, one of the perks of arbitration is confidentiality.
Mhm.
The process is confidential, unlike the court litigation system where everything is
It's made
accessible
public.
public.
Mhm.
So if you're involved in arbitration as a lawyer or a law firm, you have to be very careful that when you're feeding AI certain information, you're not feeding it sensitive information of your client. For example, their employee records, their financial statements, their business model, their trade secrets. You have to be very, very careful that the data you're providing the AI is is minimal. It's not too much because there's somebody at the back end looking at
That
everything.
collates the information.
Exactly, exactly. And you don't know when there could be a data spill and your client records will form public record. So it's just so important that they take data privacy, data confidentiality very seriously when using artificial intelligence. The second is copyright. Now, there are certain generated AI generated videos, pictures, documents that probably belong to another author who is already enjoying the protection of copyright. We have to be very sure that the document, the picture, the video you're relying on does not belong to an author or someone else who has exclusive rights to use or distribute these documents or pictures and videos. So that has to be at the back of a law firm or a business mind just to ensure that you're not violating any Nigerian laws. Other laws are applicable as well. The Nigerian Communications Act, the National Information Technology Developmental Agency Act. We have the Cyber Crimes Prohibitions Preventions Act. There are just several other laws that could be applicable when using AI. And the responsibility falls on the business owner or the person relying on AI who use that AI to ensure that they are not violating any laws because they will be held liable at the end of the day for the outputs they relied on generated by artificial intelligence.
Thank you so much for the show. That was really enlightening because now I know that as much as we're using AI oriented results, it could also lead to copyright of another person's something. What are the simple steps that companies should take to protect customer data when using artificial intelligence tools?
Thank you very much, Niriam, for that question. That's a lovely question, by the way. Um, it's important that businesses understand that there are guidelines they have to put in place when using AI. One of the first or most important things is training their employees to use AI responsibly. It is important that businesses train their staff to understand the limits and the expectations of AI. Not everything has to go through AI. There are some things that independently an employee should be able to do and not 100% overly rely on AI. Also, employees have to understand the type of question, the type of data that they are feeding these AI. There are things that consumers, customers, clients would not want out there, would not want to be fed into the artificial intelligence. So it's very important that they are trained on how to use this artificial intelligence. Another thing that these companies or businesses can do is to have AI audits. The artificial intelligence platform you're using, is that the latest platform that is available? For example, you mentioned View 3 earlier during your presentation. The difference between View 2 and View 3 is massive. It's so you have to be up to date with the latest AI tools. The version you are using, is that the best version of that tool? The ChatGPT of last year, not ChatGPT of this
This
year.
year.
There are crazy advancements that have taken place in the last 1 year, and ChatGPT has gotten so much better. But it's not just ChatGPT. There are several other AI tools that have gotten updates, and it's important that businesses are aware of these updates and that they're using the latest model. Another thing that they probably have to do very importantly is to ensure that human oversight is put in place, that they have like a data compliance officer who they are running through. Okay, am I allowed to do this? Am I not allowed to do this? Would my client want me to use this data? Would my client not want me to use this data? So there are officers in place that, of course, that would assist or would make businesses understand the limits and the boundaries of what the amount of data that they can use with AI. Also, it wouldn't hurt to have an AI officer. There are people that are now specializing in using artificial intelligence for the benefit of companies. They are AI officers. And if the company or the law firm can hire an AI specialist, why not? that's also part of the things that could be done.
Okay, thank you so much. So, to bring this session to an end, I would like to know, is there like a common mistake that most businesses and law firms make? What is that very common thing that you think should change and should stop? What is that one thing that they do with AI that we should not be hearing about?
Thank you very much, Shinoyere. That's a lovely question actually. From experience, what I have noticed is that there's a growing over reliance on AI to do everything. Nobody wants to put in any more industry, innovation, or thought into their work. Everybody else wants to go into Gemini, they want to go to Grok, they want to go to ChatGPT, prepare an appellant's brief for me, prepare this for me, prepare that for me, without any form of verification or audit whatsoever. It's not good for an establishment to over rely on AI for everything that it has to do. There has to be some form of human ingenuity in what people do. Because the reasons why companies and clients use, for example, law firms is because lawyers are deemed professionals. And you can hold them accountable for their advice. Nobody wants to work with companies or law firms that you cannot hold accountable. You have to be able to give advice and stand by your advice when the time comes. So, however, what's happening now, students, researchers, lecturers, even lawyers are just everything's AI, 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 AI. They're so over reliant on it that it's probably taking away innovation and human ingenuity into things that these businesses are doing. And probably when Nigeria puts its law in place, see that reduce a lot. But before then, it's very important to have human innovation and ingenuity in everything that they're doing. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So this was a lovely session. I got to learn a lot from you. And right now we know that human ingenuity, innovation, oversight into AI related outputs is the way forward. So thank you so much. And until we meet again, bye bye.
Thank you very much.